will there be an effect of the midterms that we've seen this week in terms of the way that the US market is going to progress?
It's likely to have an effect. The question is what kind of effect, and I don't think anybody can guess what will happen. I think the Democrats now, of course, control the House, and they will have to work collaboratively with the president to come up with new legislation around pharmaceutical pricing. What will they do? I don't know. The president and the administration before the midterms were talking about the so-called Part B segment and talking about price referencing it to a basket of countries around the world. We actually, in our case, the Part B segment represents about 10% of our US sales. So our exposure to this is relatively limited, 10% of our sales. So they could do this. Others are saying they will put pressure on Part D, which is the medicines that retirees use. The reality is that the prices in Part D have decreased a lot. I would hope that what they do is remove the rebates. I'm sure you've heard about the rebates. Pharmaceutical companies have a list price, and they give PBMs and insurers large rebates, and then they have a net price. And I'll give you an example. We have a product called Symbicort for asthma. Our list price is $300 and some, very high. Our net price, we give an enormous amount of rebate. Our net price is the same as in Europe. So that product is sold on a net basis, same price as Europe. The problem is people don't see this because of the rebates. The rebates need to go so we gain transparency in the supply chain.
Do you think, you talk about the asthma therapy there, how would, if this structure were applied more broadly in the States, how would that affect the cancer area?
Cancer area would potentially be affected, and then there would be price pressure. But the US environment has always been very supportive of innovation. And the world, quite frankly, is a little bit benefiting from the investment the US has been willing to make in funding R&D in cancer research through prices that are sufficient to justify the investment. So somehow what would need to happen on a global basis is a readjustment of prices, maybe slightly higher prices in Europe, slightly lower prices in the US. I think the Japanese prices are probably a good benchmark of what the right level should be. Now, whether that can be done, I don't know, and it's probably unlikely, so we will see what happens.
Very strong growth continues in China. It's 20% of your business now, I think, roughly, circa 27% growth. Those numbers are promising. Again, I'm curious as to the profile of that growth. Are the kind of numbers you're seeing now sustainable? Does it accelerate, decelerate? How sustainable is this kind of growth phase that we're in right now?
Yeah. First of all, I would say in China we have an outstanding team. And that team has been outpacing the market for the last 4 or 5 years. So we've been growing faster than the market in China for the last 4 or 5 years. Today we have a very large company in China. We have 12,000 employees. We are present in research, development, manufacturing, commercial. So we operate in China almost as a Chinese company. We're really very invested in the country. Our growth rate is about 25% a year, so it's very, very strong. Now, the question you're asking is it going to last? And I believe it will, at least for the foreseeable future, because we have momentum, because we have a great team and we have new products. And the government is really changing the way they approve new products. In the past, you would launch a new product in China maybe 2 years, 3 years after the US and Europe. Now you potentially can launch new products at the same time as Europe. In fact, we have a product called roxadustat for anemia. We will launch it in China before we launch it outside in the rest of the world. So those new products, they will help us fuel the growth. The government also has established healthcare as a priority. They are investing money, funding new drugs. And so many of our new drugs, even for cancer, which 3 years ago we would not have expected to be reimbursed, are now reimbursed. So I believe we have a lot of growth ahead of us. We'll have price pressure because, as usual, everywhere in the world, the older products will come under price pressure. You would expect that, and it's a natural natural evolution of things. But I'm confident we can keep growing.
Quick question on Brexit. Are you increasing as a business your preparations, ramping those preparations up for a no-deal Brexit?
Yes, we have been. In our business, because we are so invested in the UK, we have two parts, if you will. We have a big R&D presence in Cambridge, essentially. And that is stable because Cambridge is a great place to do science. It's probably one of the best places in the world and certainly in Europe. So we are very committed there, and we've continued building and investing and attracting people. And we haven't found any complications, any difficulties recruiting great scientists to Cambridge.